So, I decided to sit down and rank all of the Walt Disney World Resort hotels that I have stayed in so that I can help you to choose the right resort for your family. Let me tell you, I was completely blown away with how the rankings ended up being because it wasn't a matter of the more expensive resorts were higher on my list. It was completely like everything was mixed up. So some values did a lot better than some deluxes, and moderates were better than values, and values were better than moderates. You know, it was all over the place. My goal for this video is for you to have as much information as possible before you plan your next Walt Disney World vacation. As a travel agent, I like to make sure that my clients have as much information in their arsenal as possible so that we can plan the perfect vacation for your family. With that being said, I am currently taking new clients, so if you do want help with your Walt Disney World vacation, you can leave a comment with your email address down below, or you can email me at abby@lookingglasstravel.com. Hello there, and to all who come to this happy place, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Abby, and I make Disney planning content here on my channel. I make new videos here on my channel every Tuesday and Thursday, and would love to have you stick around. Make sure you hit the red subscribe button down below and turn the notification bell on so that you don't miss any of my future videos. So I've stayed in 13 out of 20 of the Walt Disney World resorts. It is on my bucket list to stay at all 20 of them, and one of them I'm going to be knocking out in the next couple of months. I'll be leaving Yacht Club, Beach Club, Grand Floridian, Contemporary, and the 3 All-Star resorts out of the rankings simply because I haven't stayed there yet. All-Star Movies is where we are staying in August, so I'll be sure to update you guys with my opinion on that resort at that time. So without further ado, let's get ranking. Let me first make it super clear that I like all of the Walt Disney World resorts. There is not a single one that I would say I will never stay there again. And experiences can vary from trip to trip. So on my next visit to one of these hotels, their ranking could change completely and throw this whole list off, in which I'll have to do an update. Your family's opinion of these resorts might be different from mine, and that is a-okay. We all have different preferences and priorities, and that's the great thing about planning a Disney vacation. It's all unique to you. Number 13 on my list is Coronado Springs, and Coronado Springs for me just isn't Disney enough. I'm an absolute Disney nut, and when I'm in Disney, I want to be immersed in the magic and in the theming of the resorts. I want to feel part of the story of my favorite movies. So when I'm at Coronado Springs, I'm really just missing that. They do have a really awesome pool, and they have a really cool food court. They have a lot of flavors here that you aren't going to find in the parks or in other resort hotels. We did also find that because this is a convention hotel, it's a lot quieter and there's a lot less families. So if you're looking for that quieter trip, this might be the perfect hotel for you. The grounds are absolutely beautiful, the fountains everywhere were gorgeous, and we really did enjoy our stay here. I'll be doing a full review on each of the resort hotels that I have stayed in, so make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss an in-depth review. I just want to keep this video fairly brief so that, you know, you get as much information as possible. Number 12 is going to start us off on a theme that runs through a lot of my reviews, and that is I really don't like internal bus loops. Internal bus loops are when a resort is so large that they have multiple pickup stops for the buses throughout the resort. So they might stop between 3 and 5 times before they even head to the park. And depending on where your stop lies in the route, it might take you a long time to get to the park or back home at the end of the night. Number 12 on this list is Saratoga Springs, and this has one of those internal bus loops. And honestly, it drives it down to like almost the bottom of my list. This resort is absolutely massive, and so it does require that internal bus loop. I also found their main lobby area to be kind of strange. For such a huge resort, they have a very small food court and gift shop, and let's be real, I'm addicted to buying Disney merch, and they just did not have enough selection for me. Now, if you're not a big shopper and you're not going to eat at the resort that often, this probably is not a huge deal to you. But we spent a lot of time here because it was at the end of our trip. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I did a ridiculously crazy split stay in March. I will leave the link to that up in the cards. But Saratoga Springs was kind of our wind down spot, so having such a small variety of food options and small gift shop was a real downer for us. What we did love here was Community Hall. And because we're Disney Vacation Club members, we were able to borrow Disney DVDs for free. And in Community Hall, you can also pay to do arts and crafts projects and work on different things. So there's a lot of entertainment to be had here. We were able to get the Lizzie McGuire movie as well as multiple Star Wars movies, and we really took advantage of that and really did enjoy that. This definitely isn't at the top of our return to list, but we won't shy away from staying there if the opportunity presents itself. Number 11 on my list is Old Key West, and Old Key West is very similar to Saratoga Springs in size and in kind of the crowd. They're both DVC only resorts, but you can stay there on cash. It's a whole legal thing that I'm not going to get into in this video because it's pretty complicated and you don't really need to know that information. But with that being said, Old Key West is really pretty. They have like a really good theme going there, and the gift shop was pretty sufficient, if I do say so myself. We had breakfast at Olivia's Cafe, and my mom really enjoyed her breakfast. I don't really like breakfast food, so I'm not really impressed by any breakfast. But Olivia's is a very popular restaurant, and people really love it, so it was good. It was good for breakfast. The pool was really cool looking. It was January when we stayed there, and quite honestly freezing. I wore my North Face for most of the trip, so we did not go swimming, but it looked like a lot of fun. Another great perk about this one and Saratoga Springs is the boat to Disney Springs, and you can also walk there. So having access to all of those shops kind of made up for the lack of selection in the gift shops. Old Key West did have a bigger selection than Saratoga, but you know, I need a little more. This is what happens when you go to Disney too much, people. You end up with so much merch that you run out of options in the stores. Anyway, our room at Old Key West was really pretty. It was a recently refurbished room, and I really like the design choices that they made. Our room was plenty spacious. It was just the two of us. We had 2 queen beds. Overall, can't complain about the room. We were very close to a bus stop, so even though we did have that internal bus, it wasn't a huge deal because we weren't too far from our stop. Number 10 on my list is Fort Wilderness. We specifically stayed in the cabins, which is a great option for larger parties or parties that need a kitchen. Cooking in the kitchen at your resort can be a great way to save money if you're not doing a dining plan. And it's also a really good option for larger parties since they can accommodate up to 6 guests. And they also have options for RVs and for tents, so you can bring a lot of different large groups here as well as small groups. So this makes it a really affordable option for those bigger groups. Another thing that I really do like about this resort is there are a ton of entertainment options. Not all of them are free, like you have to pay extra to go horseback riding, but it is an option right there at your hotel. I don't know if you can really call it a hotel because it is a campground, but you know what I mean. My biggest complaint is the size of this one. It's massive to accommodate all those RVs, campsites, and cabins. So big that they have both internal buses and golf carts that you can rent. But if you have a golf cart, I guess it's not really that big of a deal. Perhaps the best perk of this resort is that for such a low price, you have super easy access to Magic Kingdom. You have a boat right over to the entrance, which makes it super easy to get back and forth. And you're not paying the pricing of a monorail resort or wilderness lodge. Number 9 on my list is Caribbean Beach, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I really don't like the internal bus system. I stayed here and didn't realize that this wasn't like a norm for Disney hotels. Less than half of them have internal bus systems, and didn't really have a problem with it, but looking back now, it's just annoying. One of the great things about this resort is they just redid their main lobby area, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And the pool there, I was blown away by. The pirate theming is so cool. We had so much fun in the pool there. They were also nice and close to Epcot, which is a real perk. Not within walking distance, but definitely a short bus ride. Number 8 on my list is Pop Century, and I actually really like Pop Century. I think they have one of the best food courts that any of the resort hotels have. They have a really great food court, one of the best on property in my opinion. They just have a really wide variety, lots of options for picky eaters like myself. The only real negative is it is pretty far from the parks, like most of the values are. When you're paying for the moderate and deluxe resorts, you are going to get closer to the parks. That's just kind of the way it is. The theming here is not like perfect for kids. It gets lost on a lot of kids. Even like some of the things I didn't really understand because I'm not that old. I'm only 22. But it's still a fun resort. Number 7 on my list is Art of Animation. And I love Art of Animation. Every square inch of that place is themed, and it's just incredible. They have worked in the movies so well, and you really feel like you're part of the story. I really just can't say enough good things about the theming. They also had a really great food court. Their main lobby is pretty much the same blueprint for Art of Animation, Pop, and all the All-Stars. They all are the same with a big gift shop, big food courts, and lots of options. The family suites here are amazing. We stayed in the Nemo suites one time, and they were so much fun and so close to the main pool and to the buses. The Little Mermaid rooms are very far. They're like a 10 to 15 minute walk at a brisk pace to your Little Mermaid room, so that is something to keep in mind. The family suites, because you do pay a premium to stay in them, are much closer. At the other value resorts, you can get around this by paying for a preferred room, but here you have to jump all the way up to a family suite, so that is something to keep in mind. The Big Blue Pool is also really awesome. They have underwater speakers, though we were not deep enough in the pool to kind of hear them that much. We had some little kids with us, so we weren't going super deep. But I know that they're there, and they also had a splash pad, which is a ton of fun for the kids. Number 6 on my list is Port Orleans Riverside, and I absolutely adore the royal rooms. And the courtyards outside of the royal rooms are also equally themed, super pretty. I would love to stay there again. I would really love to stay anywhere again. As long as I'm in Disney, I'm happy. But this one is definitely one that I'll try to go back to. Their main area was a lot of fun. There was plenty to look at. There was a nice food court with plenty of seating. And they also have the boat to Disney Springs. The downside here is going to be that internal bus system one more time. But because we stayed in the royal rooms, we actually never ran into a problem with this because we could walk to the, I believe it was the last bus stop at the resort. Now, we were only there for one night while we were doing Moonlight Magic, which I will leave the vlog for up in the cards because it was super fun. So we didn't really get affected by the internal bus loop, but I know that they have one and I know that it's pretty significant. So that is something to consider if you have an aversion to them like I do. Number 5 on my list is Port Orleans French Quarter. And this one I was back and forth between because I like the rooms at Port Orleans Riverside better because we have the royal rooms, but I like the atmosphere of Port Orleans French Quarter better. And Port Orleans French Quarter is just such a quaint little resort. It's so small. There's no such thing as a preferred room here because everything is close to the main building. It's fantastic. They had a fun pool. They have the boat to Disney Springs, and they have beignets. I mean, what more could you ask for? This is a great option if you are taking a romantic couples trip. It's just very quiet, and I didn't notice a lot of noise here like you might at some of the other more family-focused hotels. This one kind of flies under the radar a little bit, but it is super popular in that it can be hard to get a room here because there are so few. It's a smaller resort. Number 4 on my list is Wilderness Lodge, and we stayed here for the first time last June, and I just love it. If you've ever been to Great Wolf Lodge, which is a kind of indoor water park sort of hotel chain that we have in other parts of the US, I don't know where they have them, but Wilderness Lodge is very similar in theming, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Very cabin in the woodsy, very homey. And we're staying here again in November for the Christmas decorations, and I am so excited. It's not even funny. It is not on the monorail, but you can take a boat over to Magic Kingdom, which is really awesome. So having multiple transportation options to and from the parks is a real plus here. And they also have a lot of different dining options, especially with the addition of the storybook dining with Snow White and the Evil Queen, Grumpy, and Dopey. So there's a ton to do here. There's also a scavenger hunt. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a full review on all of these, so stay tuned for that. My number 3 choice is Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I absolutely love Animal Kingdom Lodge. I stayed in a standard view room first and then later stayed in a Savannah view room, and let me tell you, there's no turning back. It is Savannah view or I'm not staying there, because it was just amazing. We could see giraffes and zebras and some other things from our room, and it was just super magical. We actually hung out in the room a lot that day just because we didn't want to miss out on the views. I also got up at sunset and the animals were still sleeping, so that was rude. But the layout and theming here is very similar to Wilderness Lodge. It's just got an African flair on it, which is really cool. They also have a lot of displays out with kind of different African culture pieces, so that's a lot of fun. Animal Kingdom Lodge also has great restaurant options with a lot of African flavors, and they also have like some food that doesn't have those African flavors for picky eaters like myself. However, I did like a lot of the different things that I did try there. The biggest downside to Animal Kingdom Lodge is that it is very far from Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. We were in Pandora, and 20 minutes later we're in our room that was at the very end of the hotel, like far walk from the bus. So it's super close to Animal Kingdom, but it is really far from those other parks, so if you're not going to spend any time or much time in Animal Kingdom, that might be something to keep in mind. But I do think that a Savannah View room is worth it. My number 2 choice is Boardwalk, and if you've been around for any particular length of time, you know that I absolutely love Boardwalk. This probably would have been my number 1 choice if they had more options for food that I can eat. I have a lot of food allergies, with the big one being gluten and mushroom, and I had a real problem here. I will link that up here so that you can check that out if you have similar concerns. But if that was not a consideration, this probably would have been my number 1 choice. You can walk or take a boat to Epcot and Hollywood Studios, which is really awesome. The boat ride was not long at all. It was maybe 5 or 10 minutes, probably 10. I was just so excited that it felt like 5. But the rooms were absolutely gorgeous. I loved the decor. And we also got a view of Space to Birth, which again, if you've been around for any length of time, you know I'm obsessed since I used to work there. Our favorite activity is totally checking out Jelly Rolls there. It is a super fun dueling piano bar that is great for adults. You do have to be over 21 to enter. Other than the lack of food choices for dietary restrictions, I really don't have anything bad to say about Boardwalk. It was a really great resort. And that takes us to my very favorite resort, which I was surprised this one ended up in number 1, but it did, and that is Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. Having the monorail access to Magic Kingdom and being able to walk to the Ticket and Transportation Center for the ferry to Magic Kingdom or the monorail to Epcot was just something that could not be beat, and I expect to have the same opinion when I do stay at Grand Floridian and Contemporary in the next year or so. I've always loved the theming here. I spent a lot of time at this resort when I was a cast member simply because it's just fun and you can get a Dole Whip, and you know, what else do you really need? But you can go to Trader Sam's. It's a lot of fun. Not that I've been able to get in yet, but that's another story for another day. I just know that I need to go there because everyone raves about it. They also have some really great dining options with both character dining and a dinner show. Like, there's just so much to do here. And I also love having the access to the beach with the view of Cinderella Castle from that beach. We've been able to catch multiple things being tested there. I saw Happily Ever After months before it actually came out. And if you remember Kaylee, she's right there, but from my vlogs on our March trip when we were at Polynesian staying there in October, we got to see the Elsa castle lighting practice going on, and granted it was the middle of the night, so like you're not gonna see that like typically, but you can if you really want to. It was just a random surprise and it was super magical. So I have some really great memories watching different things before they're released here. So that's just a fun thing that you can experience here that you might not be able to experience other places. And there you have it, my ranking of the 13 different resorts that I have stayed at. As I mentioned a few times throughout the video, I will be doing a full review on all of the hotels in this list so that I can kind of go into more depth about my opinion on each. I know that I was trying to condense this down so that it's not a super long video. Don't think that I was super successful, but there was a lot more that I could say about each and every one of them, and I want to make sure that you have as much information as possible. So to make sure you see the reviews of hotels that you are considering, make sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up so that I know you're looking forward to it. Like I said, keep in mind that every family has their own needs, priorities, and preferences, so my list may not match yours. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of the resorts that I talked about, or maybe some that I have not stayed at. Like I said, we will be staying at All Star Movies for the first time in August, and I would love to hear your thoughts about that resort. We will have a preferred room, and I'm super excited to try it out. I will talk to you guys on Thursday with some Disney itinerary planning tips that you can use when you're planning your next Disney vacation. With that being said, I will talk to you guys on Thursday. Bye!